Hi, it's Steph, and today I am going to take a ride to a local nursery. I've taken you there before, and we're going to check out some plants. What I'm looking for specifically is something called Galinia trifoliata, also known as Bowman's root, and epimedium, two perennials which are really good for planting in dry shade. And I'm planning on picking them up to plant here in this woodland bed that is shady, and I think they would do really great here. So let's go to the nursery and see what we can find. We have arrived at Sylvan Nursery in Westport, Massachusetts, and I am in the shade house, and this is where the epimedium is. And I found a couple of varieties that I think I am going to pick up. So there is this one here called Pink Elf, but they have really pretty foliage, and they start blooming usually around May here in my zone 6. So I've picked out one so far, and I have another variety that I'm going to grab. Now, usually I like to grab at least 3 of each plant, but when a plant is new to me, I most of the time will pick up 1 of each variety just to test it out in my garden, see how it does, and over time I can divide it or I can add to that variety if I enjoy it. I found a tag of the Pink Elf. This is what it looks like. It's a really dainty little fairy looking flower. They almost look like fairy flowers, and atop this foliage. And they do really well in dry shade. So this is one of them, and I'll show you the other variety that I'm interested in. Here is the native variety, the sulphurium, I believe it's called, the yellow barrenwort. Barrenwort is another name for this plant here, the epimedium, but this one has really pretty foliage. You can see it has a little bit of red to it, so even when it's not in bloom, it has a really pretty coloring. Actually, a friend in my garden club shared some of this variety with me, so I have 2 starts of this one at home already. Here is the other one that I've picked out, and this variety is Epimedium galedriel, and you can see it has a pretty rosy pink bloom. This one actually has a couple of blooms on it, so let me show you what they look like up close. See that? They're like really dainty little flowers that appear to be floating and very delicate. And here is the Galinia trifoliata, or Bowman's root. It is a dainty white flower that is very reminiscent of, say, agara. So it has a very airy, kind of floaty appearance, very dainty and pretty. But you can see that these are still growing, so I'll come back in a few weeks to pick up a couple of these. And here is my pick for the epimediums. I have 2 of them. Now let's go see what else we can find. And they have the beautiful variety of geum that I have at home. Geum is also known as avens or avens, and this one is called Mai Tai. It's a gorgeous light peach apricot color. Look at this. Isn't that beautiful? Now this one's a little ahead from the ones in my garden. Mine are just starting to put out the new foliage, and they usually bloom for me at some point towards the end of May. But these are stunning. Shopping today with my friend Maureen from Parsons Peonies, and we came here together to look at some plants. And Maureen told me that we need to pick up some of this Lupin Gallery Yellow. She grew this in her garden, and while I haven't traditionally been a fan of yellow plants, I'm coming around to these really light, pale, buttery yellows, and that actually looks like it's going to be beautiful. So we're going to pick one of these up, and look at that foliage. Lupin even has such pretty foliage. It's worth growing it just for that. Look at how pretty. Holds on to water droplets really nicely as well. Check out how gorgeous the foliage on this bearded tongue or penstemon is. So pretty. So even when the plant's not in bloom, this plant actually, I feel like you get a really long season of interest out of penstemon because the foliage is pretty. So not only is the foliage pretty, but you also get the really pretty blooms. And then even the blooms, as they dry out, you get those really nice seed pods that look really pretty in cut flower arrangements. This one's called Bearded Tongue Husker Red. So if anyone's curious about the bearded tongue or the penstemon with this really beautiful red foliage, this is the variety here. And they have these little bell-shaped flowers that the pollinators absolutely love. They bloom in summer, and they are a sun to part shade plant. Check out this incredible foliage of Lady's Mantle, and it is loaded with water droplets, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. Let me get a little bit closer. Look at that. This plant has absolutely beautiful foliage, so even growing it for foliage is worth it. And then it gets these little sprays of chartreuse flowers in the summer. I believe in my garden it blooms somewhere around June. Such a pretty perennial. You're right, Maureen. So Maureen's telling me both the Lupin and the Lady's Mantle collect water so beautifully. They both have really pretty foliage. Here's some more penstemon. And look how bright this red one is. This one is called Penstemon Dakota Burgundy. This is what happens when you plant shop with friends. I've been influenced by Maureen. We're going to pick up one of these Santeria Mountain, Montana. I think that's what it's called. Santeria Montana, amethysts in snow. So this is the Santeria that is white with purple in the center. And then there is this one here that is the one that is more common, which has the purple bloom. And they look like little spiders. It blooms in spring and summer. Cornflower is the other name for them, and it is a perennial. So I'm going to go ahead and tag one of these to take home. We're in the heuchera or coral bell house. They have tiarellas in here, so it's a shade hoop house. And oh my goodness, Maureen and I were just discussing how this caramel heuchera is a workhorse. This is probably the only heuchera that I've grown in my garden that has been really robust, has come back after winter without issue, and it's just beautiful. The color on it is gorgeous. It has colors of yellow and orangey. It's just really pretty. I divided mine right out of the container because it was fairly large when I bought it, and I was able to divide it into 3 small segments, and now each one has gotten probably double in size. So if you're looking for a heuchera that is pretty reliable and can handle a little bit of sun, the caramel heuchera does great in my garden. This is what it's called, heuchera caramel. And look at all those different colors. In just one plant, so much variation in the foliage. I found a really pretty tiarella. It's called Sugar and Spice, also known as foam flower. Look at that. So cute. I love that it has dark in the center of the foliage. So I'm going to go ahead and pick out a couple of these for my new garden space, my Japanese maple garden. And they have some white bleeding hearts, which I've been after. I have tried growing some from bare root before, and while my pink ones that I started from bare root do fine, the white ones never return. So I'm going to go ahead and grab myself a Dicentra or bleeding heart. Look how pretty these blooms are. They're heart-shaped, and they have that little dangle at the bottom, so it makes it look like it's a heart that's bleeding, which is how they get their name. And while these are a part-shaped plant, I have a neighbor who has one in full sun, and it does amazing. Hers is way bigger than the ones that I have in shade, so I think that they can handle a lot more sun than they're given credit for. All right, so I also picked out some bamboo. This is a clumping type of bamboo, which is a little bit more well-behaved than the running type of bamboo. So I'm going to grab one of these from my Japanese maple garden. I have an idea of where I'm going to use it. The name of the clumping bamboo is called Fargesia rufa. I'm back home from the nursery now, and I'm going to share with you what I picked up. I had a wonderful morning with my friend Maureen. It's always fun to spend some time with gardening friends on a day off and visiting a nursery. Even more fun when we get to bring some plants home. So let me share with you what I got. So I had wanted some bamboo for a little while for that Japanese maple garden area. I have a plan for this, and I'm going to be potting it up, and I will show you what that looks like next month in a video. But I was really happy to find this clumping bamboo at the nursery. I also picked up some Santeria, known as cornflower. Now, I had tried growing this in my garden in the past, and I don't know what happened to it. I'm pretty sure it just didn't return after the winter one year. And it was the same variety, which was the Santeria amethyst in snow. It's a white one with a little bit of purple in the center. And the flower kind of looks like a little spider. It's a really pretty plant, and it has nice foliage. So my plan for this one is to plant it in my pollinator bed, which is right outside of my newly renovated raised bed garden. So I think this will look really pretty there. I also picked up some lupin. This is the gallery yellow, and it's a light buttery yellow. And Maureen actually introduced me to this plant and said that I should buy it because it was a really pretty one in her garden. And I am actually growing lupin. I've had some in the past that I grew from seed. I tried to move it and it died because lupin has a deep taproot. It doesn't do really well with transplanting. And then last year I had purchased some bare root ones at Tractor Supply. It came a pack of 5. They were a mixed variety. I planted them out, and they're looking beautiful this year. I did lose one of them, so I ended up with 4 out of the 5 that came back. So this one is light yellow. I don't know what color the others will be, but I'm going to go ahead and plant this so that we can see what it looks like when it blooms. Has really pretty foliage. I also picked up a bleeding heart, and I only got one because these can get anywhere from 24 to 36 inches in size. So they get quite large in the right growing conditions. Now, speaking of the right growing conditions, apparently I haven't been growing mine in great conditions because some of the white bare root ones that I planted never came back, and the pink ones don't get a ton of blooms on them, but they're alive and they're doing okay. But I really like the look of the white ones, so I went ahead and I picked one up. and this tiarella. And it had this really beautiful foliage with this deep red variegation in the center and these really sweet blooms called foam flowers. So I thought this would look really nice in my new part shade garden area. So I grabbed 3 of these. And what I actually went there for was the Gallinia trifoliata, which, as I showed you in the video, wasn't quite ready yet. Is still just coming out of the planter, so they need a little more time to grow, and then I'll go back and pick them up in a few more weeks. But I did grab epimedium, which was another thing on my list. Now, when I'm grabbing a new plant, I usually just grab 1 or 2 to try in my garden, see how it behaves, see if it likes it in my garden. And if it does well, I can either wait until this one grows and divide it to have more, or I can pick up a couple more of the same variety. But the ones that I picked up was the epimedium pink elf and Epimedium Galadriel. And these are both part shade. They like dry shade, and they have those really sweet little fairy looking flowers that usually emerge in May here in my Zone 6 garden. So I am going to work on planting these over the next couple of weeks, and then I'll be sure to show you where they go in a garden tour. Now I am going to go ahead and go upstairs and have some lunch, and then we are going to take a ride over to the Home Depot. A couple of days ago, I was doing my garden center tour video, and there were a few plants that I had picked up that later when I was editing the video, I regretted not buying. And doesn't that happen to all of us? We sometimes go somewhere, see something, think we don't need it or don't want it, and then later we can't stop thinking about it and need to have it, right? Well, that's what happened to me. So we're going to go ahead and take a ride to Home Depot, and we're going to pick up a few of those plants. Before I headed in for lunch, I thought that I would show you my bleeding hearts, and look how beautiful they look. They're so gorgeous. So this just started blooming this week. So I have a couple more bloom stalks that are getting ready to open up. There's one back there, and I have 2 of these. Now the pink always returns. These have been here for about 3 years, but I do think that they can take a little bit more sun, and that is perhaps why they're not getting as large as I had wanted them to. And here they are, the quart size Proven Winners Perennials. So when I was here doing the Home Depot video just a couple of days ago, I shared this with you, and you might have already seen it. And I was so excited to find some of these varieties that I had been wanting for my garden, and they had them in the quart size. One of them is the Virginia, or this Miss Piggy Picksqueak. And it has a really beautiful, large, shiny foliage, and then it gets these little pink blooms that are kind of bell-shaped. Let me show you the picture. Look at that. Isn't that so pretty? So I'm going to grab 3 of these, and I'm also going to get some of the coral jade sedum. Look at that. So pretty. So I am so excited about this. So I'm going to grab 3 of the sedum and 3 of the picksqueak. I actually have a list. I came prepared. So let's go ahead and grab some plants. These look so good. They're really great size. Sometimes you get 1-gallon containers that have a plant just about this size. So this is awesome. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab 3 of these. So this one actually looks pretty good. I'm looking for the ones that are a little bit fuller. Oh, that one looks real good. Grab that one. And let's see. This one here looks pretty good too. All right, now let's grab the picksqueak. All right, I have the 3 picksqueak and 3 of this Rock and Grow Coral Jade Sedum, and they look really good. They had a tray that was almost empty, so I moved some plants around so that these will be easier to bring home in the car. But I'm really excited about these. I also found the poppies. Now I had these in my garden in the past. I tried to move them, and because they have long tap roots, they don't like to be moved, so they died. So I'm going to grab 2 more of these. The Oriental Poppy Princess Victoria Louise. It's a really pretty coral color. Now it looks really light, like a peachy apricot in the picture, but it's actually like a pink coral color. And I'm going to grab 2 of these. These are a perennial type poppy, and these looked pretty good. So now I'm just going to grab one more thing. And I'm going to grab 2 of these species tulips. These are Tulipa tarda, and these are late to bloom, and they're also, because they're species tulips, they're more deer resistant. And they're starting to open now, and they have this really pretty kind of yellow center with white tips. They kind of look like a sunny side egg to me. So I thought they were really sweet looking, and I'm going to go ahead and grab 2 of these. And here is my haul from the Home Depot. So I ended up picking up 2 of these Oriental poppies. The variety is Princess Victoria Louise. And I've had these in my garden before, like I said. They didn't come back because I dug one up and I think I killed it. So I picked up 2 more to put in my pollinator bed outside of my redone raised bed garden, as well as these here. They're going in the same place. These are the Tulipa tarda, and they are a perennial tulip, a species tulip, which means they're also more deer resistant and more reliably perennial. So I am going to plant these in that same area. And I like how they have a really soft yellow. They're just a really delicate, pretty looking bloom. And they're shorter stature. And I'm going to go ahead and plant them, and I'm going to let them completely die back before I cut any of this foliage off to make sure that they come back next year. So I got 2 of those. And then my most exciting find was the quart-size containers of the Proven Winners plants. Now, these are perennials, and such a great size. Makes them easy to plant and more affordable. So I picked up 3 of the Rock and Grow Coral Jade Sedum. And I absolutely love this blue color on the foliage. And I actually already have a spot picked out for these. I'm going to put them right here in this new bed that we created behind the patio wall last year, because it still has quite a bit of sun. So I think that these will do great there. And then Pig Squeak, or Bergenia. So I have been after Bergenia for a couple of seasons now, and Proven Winners came out with this variety. I want to say it was new for 2024, and I was really excited to find this in my Home Depot. So see how it has this really large, shiny foliage? I am going to interplant this with my Dark Side of the Moon Astilbe, because the Astilbe blooms later and this will bloom earlier. So we'll get an earlier show of these pink blooms with this broadleaf, shiny green foliage with this Miss Piggy Bergenia. And then once these are faded, we'll still have these really pretty leaves that'll be such a nice contrast to the dark Astilbe, and the Astilbe will bloom. So there'll be 2 plants in that same spot. They'll be complementary to each other because they're different colors. The other one is fern-like foliage with a red coloring. This one is green, broadleaf, shiny, and I think they'll make a really pretty combination. I'm really looking forward to this Miss Piggy or Bergenia getting to full size. So I really hope that it likes the location that I'm going to plant it in. So it says it likes sun and shade, which is the same light conditions that the Astilbe likes, the Dark Side of the Moon. And the size on these get to be 16 to 18 inches. So they are a medium height plant. So 16 to 18 inch height, needs 28 inch spacing, and it is hardy in zones 4 through 9 or down to negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit. And it blooms early spring, and I want to say that the Astilbe blooms late spring, early summer. So I think these are going to work well together. I went into the shed and I found the tag for the Proven Winners Dark Side of the Moon Astilbe to give you a visual. That's what it looks like. And it's actually already coming up. So this is the spot that I have it planted in. Here by my shed patio, I have a winter gold mugo pine in the center. It's a topiary form. And then because that evergreen is green with a little bit of yellow, I went ahead and I planted the 3 Dark Side of the Moon Astilbes. I put one there, one here, and one there. And I'm going to interplant this Bergenia in this area. It's hard to tell, but here is the new growth on the Dark Side of the Moon Astilbe. And check out this really cute pelargonium or geranium that my sweet friend Maureen gifted me today. It is Maverick Rose, and geraniums have such beautiful leaves. So thank you so much, Maureen. She is a wonderful gardener and an amazing friend. Well, I had a lot of fun shopping for these plants today, and I did pick up quite a few. So needless to say, I will not be buying any more plants this month, but we'll start again next month. I'm going to work on planting all of these, and then I will show you where they end up in an upcoming garden tour. So thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit the thumbs up button, and please consider subscribing so you don't miss any of my future videos. And we'll see you soon.